What's up, folks? It is a StarCraft-filled Monday, the best kind of Monday. And this time we're going to have a ZVZ between familiar face, but this time playing his main race. It is the Pink Zerg Timbo Slice. Going up against a man we don't see all too often, but he has graced us with his presence at this time. It is the Red Zerg, Yellow Jello. So once again, ZVZ, both players playing their main race, but this is a volatile matchup, so I wouldn't really necessarily give either player the edge here. Looks like Yellow Jello going for a scout, not something we really see all too often, and I don't think this is really necessary given what we know about Timbo. I mean, it's a pretty late scout, so Yellow Jello is going for the hatch first anyways. And he does confirm that Timbo is likewise going for a hatch first. So yeah, I don't really like that scout. I mean, if you're going to scout, do it a little bit earlier. But it's a lot of lost binding time on that one drone, and that it's pretty significant at this stage of the game. And Timbo following it up with a looks like pool and gas, and Timbo also a little bit surprised by the scout. Yellow Jello saying nope, but we do know he did. So yeah, like I said, very uncharacteristic of this matchup. Of Zerg in general. You rarely see drone scouts. So Timbo gonna have a slight edge in this early game. He does have his hatchery a little bit sooner. He did have that extra drone mining for a little bit longer. And we'll see what these guys are gonna bring out now. Looks like speed just a smidge earlier for Yellow Jello. Probably not really gonna be significant in the grand scheme of things, but we do have two Zerglings popping on out for the Red Zerg. None from Timbo. And he does have this Overlord that spotted those two Lings. And if it's only two, Queen gonna be more than enough to defend. Looks like this Queen is gonna start working away at the Overlord, but two Zerglings gonna sacrifice themselves here. A little bit poor control there from Yellow Jello. He's not even gonna get into the main to spot anything, and that's one of Yellow Jello's weaknesses. His army control just not very good. He doesn't get any information there. It seems minor, but there's no scout. He didn't even run back here to see if there's any tech structures there. So both players are going to be getting a Baneling Nest. Yellow Jello going for both the Baneling Nest and the Roach Warren. It's kind of interesting. Don't always see both. It is a thing to go for Ling, Roach, Baneling, but usually players prefer to opt for one or the other. Baneling's usually going to be the safer option in case your opponent floods in with Lings. And Timbo actually going to be walling up his front. And is this a full wall actually? Or maybe there's an opening there, I'm not too sure. But Timbo going to be pretty well defended against anything that Yellow Jello throws his way. Yellow Jello committing a lot to the army right now. There's a lot of Lings over here, 5 Roaches in production, but all things considered, the worker count not too hugely, what's the word? You know what I mean. These Lings are gonna poke forward, not gonna be able to find an opening to get in. Yellow Jello gonna be the first to take his third base. And Those 5 roaches are out now. Queen getting very far forward to take out an Overlord there, so that's going to deny a little bit of information for the pink Zerg. Also supply blocking him a little bit. Timbo's lair already almost done, whereas Yellow Jello just starting his. And these units do need to do something, and it looks like that's what they're looking for. But it's going to be very difficult to get in here. I would go as far as to say he cannot get in there. Overlord going to fly in to see what it can see. Let's see, the lair is done. Should be able to spot the roach warren. Yes, he does see it. Does also see the roaches popping out. So, yeah, there's not really going to be an opening here to get in, but Yellow Jello gonna have to do his due diligence and try anyways. Morphing in 3 Ravagers, and that could definitely help. But the 1-1 gonna complete here for Timbo Slice, giving him a 2 upgrade advantage. And yeah, I don't know about this attack, Chief. Losing so much here. Decent bile landing on 3 roaches. But all of the Zerglings have gone down. Does take out the Baneling nest, but can't really push on up there. There's a little bit too much here from Timbo, who is going all out with the roaches now. 11 more in the way, whereas Yellow Jello gonna be trying to catch up in the worker department. And I don't know, this is looking pretty rough for the red Zerg, because Timbo, with these 11 roaches popping out, he's got the 1-1 upgrade, and he can just start his own attack, and I don't know if Yellow Jello is going to have enough on his side of the map. Timbo, is he going to move out though? Kind of waiting a little too long here. Going to take out a few Overlords at least. But we do see the army supply 80 to 58. That is quite a significant lead for the pink Zerg, who also has the 1-1 upgrade advantage. +1 going to finish up for Yellow Jello shortly, so will just be a 1 upgrade lead once that completes. But right now, it is still 2 upgrades, and here comes Timbo dropping some biles. The +1 for Yellow Jello does complete. But is it too late? The army still favoring Timbo pretty hugely. And Yellow Jello gonna need to buy time for his reinforcements, but will it even matter? I don't know. Third base gonna get taken out. Few drones as well. And Timbo could just go home happy with this lead, or he can press forward. Let's see what he decides to do. Looks like he is going to press forward, catching 1 Ravager there, and the army supply still hugely favoring the pink Zerg. But he doesn't have all of them together. There are some reinforcing roaches. He is going to group them up. And so if there ever was a time, it would have been 5 seconds ago, but now the reinforcements group up, and I think Yellow Jello's in a world of trouble here. He's going to pick a fight himself. I don't know if that's the right call. Does back off. But the supply tells the tale, as Timbo with 144 to the 116 of Yellow Jello. Third base from Timbo is up. No drones mining there just yet, but he is up in workers as well, and he's going to find his way up towards the northern side of things, taking out another Overlord. And Yellow Jello, grossly out of position, does move back up to potentially defend his natural. He does want to take a third once again when he's able to, but he's got this big pink army breathing down his neck, and Yellow Jello just, I don't know if he can defend this. Timbo coming on in once again. The upgrades have equalized, but the army count still hugely in favor of the pink Zerg, who is just gonna go into the natural. Yellow Jello forced to call GG. Welcome back to game number 2 of this ZVZ. We are looking at the main base of the pink Zerg who took game number 1. It is Timbo Slice. And his opponent with some failed aggression that put him quite far behind. It is the red Zerg, Yellow Jello. Yeah, I think that attack from Yellow Jello just wasn't it, especially after seeing that Timbo was walled up. I think you gotta abandon the plans at that point. And the early drone scout didn't help him. The 2 lost lings for 0 information didn't help him. These are little things, but they do add up. Once again, Yellow Jello going for the drone scout. And yeah, not really necessary. As we're going to see the income just going to be favoring Timbo a little bit, thanks to that one drone not working. And Yellow Jello confirms the hatch first once again, and the reason Zergs don't really do this is because hatch first you can defend just about anything with proper control. We do know Yellow Jello lacks in that department sometimes, but also given his opponent doesn't really go for those hyper aggressive builds, I think you could definitely just go for the hatch first blind. Another curious thing, Yellow Jello gets his gas a little bit earlier, so he does get his speed a little bit earlier as well. And Timbo, I guess he goes for the cool then gas, which is why his speed gonna be a few seconds behind once again, but not gonna make a huge impact most likely. And we'll see if either player decides to get crazy. Timbo going to have the worker lead thanks to that early game income advantage. 26 to 22 now. Timbo, Yellow Jello throwing down the Baneling nest. Are we going to see a Roach Warren? Looks like at least not yet. Timbo also going for a Baneling Nest as well. You usually have to go for a Baneling Nest defensively, but we'll see if either player really commits to any sort of aggression. I would wager no, but it could happen. And actually, looks like Timbo going to be making 12 additional Zerglings, so perhaps he is thinking of some kind of Ling Bane attack. We'll see how he manages that. Maybe he wants to exploit the poor control of his opponent, and I don't know if this Overlord spotted that. The Overlord positioning of Yellow Jello, leaving a lot to be desired. And these Lings, they do have speed. There's a lot of them. Here they come. What does Yellow Jello have? He has a semi-wall, a few Banelings morphing in. And will that be enough to defend? What is this Baneling doing? just gonna waddle all the way across the map? I don't know, Chief. But here come the Banelings of Timbo, and he is continuing to rally Zerglings. Queen's putting up a wall here, and that's going to be very difficult for Timbo to get through. Is he even going to try any longer? I don't know, as... Oh, that Baneling might come into play. But no, it looks like just going to get taken out by one Zergling. Another Baneling getting triggered by one Zergling as well, so that's not bad from Timbo Slice, who has droned up to 33 now, whereas Yellow Jello, focusing heavily on the defenses, going to be trailing at 25, so kind of shifting there, and oh my god, that was a little dicey. Timbo almost not paying attention, but he does pull back just in time to avoid that. Another Overlord of Yellow Jello gonna be dying to the Queens there. And Yellow Jello, he does have his Roach Warren. He is getting roaches, but he is trailing quite heavily in the worker department. Now, if he can get enough roaches, he could just go for a big attack, and I don't know if Timbo will really have enough. But there's always that counterattack potential when you have this many lings. So very dicey situation here for both players, really. I would favor Yellow Jello's army in the straight-up engagement, but Timbo can go for a counterattack, and that could be pretty brutal. Especially if this door is open, and oh! Baneling getting an okay connection, it looked like. Taking out some of the lings there. And all of a sudden, oh my god, the Banelings of Yellow Jello getting some great connections of their own. And Timbo forced to run back. What does he have back at home? Not a whole lot. This is kind of a reversal of the previous game, and Yellow Jello needs to press the issue now. Maybe waiting just a little too long. And here he comes. There are Zerglings on the map for Timbo Slice, but he is trailing quite a bit, and oh, the Banelings for Yellow Jello taking out all the Zerglings of Timbo. He is going to even things up at 1 apiece. Alrighty, folks, this is the final map of the match between the pink Zerg and Timbo Slice and his opponent in the red. It's Yellow Jello. Good defense there last game from this man here, and good counter attack as well. But Timbo kind of leaving a lot to be desired with his lings just eating those babes and dying. Losing almost all his lings there to a few banelings. Timbo gonna go for the hatch first. Yellow Jello once again going for the drone scout. I don't like it, folks. It allows you to know what your opponent's doing a little bit ahead of time, but you lose a lot here. I mean, considering you're at, I don't know, 13, 14 drones when you send that out, that's a good... what, 6, 7, 8% of your mining? So it's pretty significant for the early game. Yellow Jello gonna be getting his gas a little bit earlier. And Timbo throwing down the spawning pool at the edge of this base. That's just in case your opponent goes for some kind of spine crawler rush. Once you spot that, you throw down another evolution chamber or 2 or 3 that forces the drones to take a long way around, and it buys you precious seconds where they're not building the spine crawler just yet. That's not going to come into play this game, obviously, as both players went for the hatch first. And once again, Timbo going to have a slight income advantage in the early game there. That little spike was probably when Timbo was transferring. Still a hotly debated topic whether it's really worth it or not. You got to divide your drones, but that transit time does lead to that income advantage for a few precious seconds. I don't know. I guess it all comes down to preference. Overlord from Yellow Jello once again in an awkward path. And this is something I see a lot from Yellow Jello. You kind of want your first Overlord somewhere out here to spot for anything moving out of your opponent's base. Second one you usually keep out here, or maybe third one is also okay. And just to see if they're morphing in any Banelings. But like, look at this positioning from Yellow Jello. These Overlords pretty useless. Overlord positioning from Timbo gonna be a little bit better. Zergling Scout from Yellow Jello does spot the main base a little bit. But as I was saying, Overlords from Timbo a little bit better. You got one spotting the middle of the map here. This one towards the outside of the natural base to spot for anything running out. And then this guy over here gonna be spotting the third to see when that goes down. And so looks like Yellow Jello committing some resources early on to Lings and Banelings. Timbo opting for the more economical early game. Another Zergling gonna be poking on in. They'll spot the Roach Warren in production, but here come a few Lings and Banelings out of Yellow Jello. Not really sure if this is enough to really do anything, but it is annoying. And here come 3 Banelings. Will they be able to get any meaningful connections? No, not really. 2 drones, I guess that's about the most you can hope for, but oh! 2 sneaky Banelings, and oh! Are they gonna... Oh, that could have been way worse, but he crashes into the Queen. The splash damage does take out a few drones. That could have been much better had Yellow Jello controlled it a little better. But all in all, 7 drones from Timbo do end up going down. That's not bad. He does still have the worker lead, though. 44 to the 39 of Yellow Jello, who is now taking his third base. And Lair is nowhere to be seen for Yellow Jello, whereas it is already 70% done for Timbo. And there it does get started up for Yellow Jello, but gonna be behind in that department once again. Looks like this is gonna be a similar build to the first game. Timbo gonna be turtling up, getting his 1-1, and then just getting roaches. This is a pretty potent build. Let's see if Yellow Jello can defend properly this time around. He is rallying a bunch of roaches to the middle of the map. Timbo should have vision of this if he's paying attention. And Army Supply gonna be favoring Yellow Jello, actually, but the defensive setup from Timbo and the 1-1 finishing up, I think he's gonna be just fine. He does have transfuses on these queens as well, morphing the weakened roach into a Ravager. And indeed, Timbo gonna be able to push that back, at least for now. The reinforcements of Yellow Jello are gonna be coming on up as well. And they do take out a queen and a few spawning tumors. And once again, the upgrade lead favoring Timbo. Some huge corrosive biles really doing a lot of damage to these roaches. And Yellow Jello gonna have to turn back home. I think that's a wise choice because the speed for Timbo finishing up shortly. And you do not want to get all your roaches trapped there. Ravagers for Timbo Slice gonna allow him to take out some of these overlords. Good awareness by Yellow Jello dodging that. The queen just gonna slowly throw its darts at that overlord. Army supply very even, 70 to 69, nice. But Yellow Jello gonna be behind in the worker department and upgrades as well. Now, is Timbo gonna force the issue? I mean, if I saw this, I wouldn't be too comfortable going for the attack. But let's see what Timbo decides to do. And Yellow Jello, taking a lot of biles. There's that infamous Yellow Jello army control once again. And he does plummet in army supply, 45 to 76 now. That was a huge moment for Timbo Slice. He's going to back off, morph in a few more Ravagers, wait for some reinforcing roaches, and perhaps go in again. And Yellow Jello, can he get the defenses? He is trailing in all regards right now. And once again, are we going to see a repeat of game number 1? Timbo taking his third base. He's actually going to be the first to start droning that up. 49 to 36. So Timbo with all the cards right now. Yellow Jello going for a run by maybe, but does get caught. Yellow Jello going to try to take out some of these rocks. And here comes Timbo shoving his way up the ramp. That's not the best choice, and he does think better of it. I think the Choco would favor the defender a little bit more, but I don't know. Here comes Timbo once again, landing more great vials on the army of Yellow Jello. And I think he could have just kept going, but he does back off once again. Now 2-2 does finish up for Timbo, whereas Yellow Jello still only has +1. Another Ling run by. This should be pretty good, and we do know Timbo likes to go back home to defend, so that's going to take some of the pressure off Yellow Jello and give him some much needed breathing room. But what is he going to do with this time and space? Some drones in production. Does need to catch up in that department, but he also needs to catch up in the army. There is no good answer here for Yellow Jello, as he's just trailing in workers, he's trailing in army, he's trailing in upgrades. So what can he really do? There's no additional tech for Yellow Jello. Timbo is going to be the one to tech up with that infestation pit. Maybe just go for a hive and get 3-3. But things are looking very dire for the red Zerg here. Timbo out for blood once again. He has an Overseer in the mix, going to be taking out some of his opponents. Creep, not the most important thing in this matchup because both players benefit from it. But looks like Yellow Jello doesn't want anything to do with that army, so they're going for a base trade, but I'm going to favor Timbo in this situation all day, every day. And is Timbo going to back off, and go home to defend? It looks like yes, this guy loves to go home and defend. So we're not going to be getting a base trade. Instead, we are just going to see if Yellow Jello can get any significant damage done before the army of Timbo shows up. Looks like, nah, not really. As Timbo does show up with his maxed out army supply, and GG is going to get called, and Timbo going to take the series 2-1.